Today we're going to go over how to assemble your GhostCat F2.2 e-bike. Let's jump right in. Once you remove your e-bike from the box and remove all the protective foam, set the bike down on the base of the fork and the rear wheel. Neatly lay out all the components that arrived in the package and remove any foam and cardboard shipping material on the floor so you have a clean and open assembly area. Now let's attach the handlebars to the stem. Loosen the 4 bolts on the handlebar clamp and remove the top. Align the center of the handlebar to the center of the stem. While holding the handlebars in the correct centered position, put the handlebar stem clamp back on. Tighten the bolts down using a crisscross pattern. Make small alignment adjustments if necessary. Next up, I'm going to show you guys how to install the 4-inch handlebar riser upgrade in case that's something you ordered and you want to install it after you put the bike together, or you ordered it with the bike and you want to install it during the general assembly process. Let's take a look. So first, if you do have the bag installed, you want to make sure the front strap is removed from the handlebar stem. And then we're going to go ahead and unscrew these 2 bolts that are currently holding the handlebar stem on the bike. One from this side and then one from the other side. These bolts have washers on them. Make sure you don't lose those washers. And then there's a little rubber cap on top of this stem. We're going to go ahead and take that off. And then you want to undo this Allen bolt underneath. And then carefully set this top part aside somewhere. And now very carefully go ahead and remove the handlebars and just let it rest off to the side. So now we have the top section of the fork exposed, and here's our 4-inch handlebar extender. What you're gonna do is remove the top piece and remove all the spacers. We'll need those later on, and we'll just deal with this part right here. All right, so go ahead and make sure these 2 Allen bolts are loose enough so that this can fit over the top of the fork. All right. We'll make the adjustments to get everything lined up later. For now, we're just gonna tighten it down a little bit. All right, so I can still turn it. Now we're gonna put the spacers on that we took off earlier. All right, and now, if we put the handlebar on, there we go. It is a little bit of a stretch for these cables down here, because you have to kind of get it higher than the actual stem itself and then set it down. Something very important I want to mention, guys, is that this brake sensor plug does unplug when you install this handlebar riser. Because without this riser, this plug is fine, because this is very dangerous. So make sure you guys pay attention. You have to do this. What you guys want to do is, starting from all the way down here, is you want to get some slack into this main cable that's running all the way up. So undo the zip ties that are holding this cable in. You're going to have to pull this whole cable up to make sure that cable up there has a little bit more space so you can easily plug the brake sensor in and it will not unplug. Let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so let's go ahead and undo this one and this one. And there was another one here. I already unclipped that earlier. And this one right here. Now, if you notice, this whole cable can move, right? And we're gonna pull this up as much as we can and try and get some more cable length up to that brake lever. So we'll start at the bottom. Go ahead and pull this brake line up a bit and we'll zip tie that. All right, make sure that's tight. Next, we'll do this bottom one. Pull that tight. And then this center one. And finally, the top one right here. And now when we turn the handlebars all the way, there's still a little bit of slack left in this cable, and the brake sensor plug will not become disconnected. So if you guys look down here, this handlebar stem only reaches a small portion of the riser that we put on. See that? And so that means we have to take off some spacers. Let's take off this little spacer and then one of the big spacers. Much better. Now, most of the stem is going to be clamping down, and that way the stem won't be able to be pulled off, and it'll be much safer and much sturdier. Now go ahead and take the top portion that came with the riser and peel off the little rubber cap. And we're going to bolt this through the handlebar riser. So first, let's go ahead and get this extender aligned and then tightened down. Then we'll go ahead and put these bolts back into the top stem and then get that tightened down. Make sure everything is in good alignment. Then once everything is in line, go ahead and tighten these down so nothing moves. Then go ahead and tighten down the top bolt. For the front wheel installation, I like to flip the bike upside down. Using my handlebar jack stands, I can safely rest the handlebars on the ground without the risk of breaking the display or a shifter. I like to carry these in my repair kits, and I use these on all of my e-bikes. Link in the video description below. Next, we're going to remove the plastic fork protection brace and the plastic caliper spacer. Remove the bolts and the washer from both sides of the front wheel axle and place the wheel into the fork, making sure the disc brake rotor is on the side with the brake caliper. Once the axle is fully seated into the fork dropouts, put one washer on each side and tighten the front wheel in place with the provided axle nuts. Make sure to firmly tighten these down. Once you're done, flip the bike back over so we can attach the display. Remove the Allen bolts from the display, making sure the nuts to tighten them down are still held in place. Pry open the plastic clamps and slide the display onto the handlebars. Center and reposition the display to face the rider and put the Allen bolts back onto the display clamps. Tighten, but do not over tighten these as the plastic clamps could crack, and you do want the position of the display to still be adjustable. Next, let's install the control panel. Remove the Allen bolt from the mounting clamp. Pry the clamp open just enough to slide the controls onto the handlebars, then reinsert the Allen bolt back in, making sure not to over tighten the bolt. Plug the green connectors together, making sure the arrows on both plugs line up. Next, let's go over installing the front headlight. Start by sliding the two fork bumpers all the way up. Unscrew and separate the two sides of the headlight bracket, then put the bracket around one side of the fork so the smaller part is facing inwards and sitting in the second notch of the larger piece of the bracket. Reinsert the screw that holds the two sides of the bracket together, but don't tighten them just yet so we can make adjustments later. Repeat this process on the other side of the fork. Next, take the headlight and unscrew the bolts from the headlight housing. Position the headlight so that the mounting holes line up with the furthest mounting hole on the bracket and insert the headlight bolt through the bracket back into the headlight housing. Do this on both sides. Then go ahead and connect the yellow headlight connectors, making sure the arrows on both plugs line up. Next, we can tighten the brackets and headlight down while at the same time making adjustments for proper alignment. Next, go ahead and install the pedals. Left side is lefty-tighty, right side is righty-tighty. Next, let's install the front fender. Some people like to install this before installing the front wheel, but I like to do this after. First, remove the Allen bolt and nut from the fork. Then place the front fender up to the same area, making sure the mounting bracket is behind the fork. Holding the nut behind the bracket, tighten the bolt through the nut, making sure to hold the fender so it stays in proper alignment. Next, go ahead and insert the battery into the battery tray, and using the provided key, lock the battery in place. With the battery turned on, press and hold the power button to test if the bike turns on. After this, you can install the optional frame bag to the top near the stem. To adjust the kickstand, hold the top of the bike while you loosen the Allen bolt in the kickstand. Extend the kickstand to your preferred length, then retighten the Allen bolt. Make sure to not overextend the kickstand as it will hit the rear disc brake rotor.